Today, with the rise of streaming services allowing us to access the screen from wherever we are, either scripted or unscripted, it is safe to say that TV is currently having a renaissance moment.
Unscripted TV plays a significant role in the rise of television, but it begs the question, has it made television better, or is it scripted TV still driving the industry?
Scripted TV is the heart of the industry. These shows take the viewer on a journey with a clear plot and give us unforgettable characters, unlike unscripted TV's sometimes chaotic and messy structure.
But unscripted TV takes viewers on a journey that allows them to see people's true colors in diverse stories. Meanwhile, scripted TV provides no connection between the screen and the audience.
These are the eyes that never knew how to smile till you came into my life. And these are the arms that long to lock you.
Morgan.
Hi, my name's Kara.
And today we're here to talk about the difference between scripted and unscripted TV. So personally for me, I watch a lot of TV, probably to a concerning level, but we don't need to talk about that. And personally, I prefer the joys and creativity of scripted TV more, filmed in a stage studio. Because personally, I just feel as if reality TV, even though it's reality, which is, it's in the title, it feels fake. It sort of feels like puppeteered. And I find it feels like it's lying to you sometimes, with the competition shows, especially like Survivor and The Amazing Race, people are always claiming it's rigged, and you feel like people are just pulling strings behind the scenes, which I don't really like.
And on the other hand, I'm going to contrast that and say I don't really watch a lot of television shows, and I'm not like a television freak, but I only watch unscripted TV, and I feel more of that connection and realness to them. Like, for example, like Dancing with the Stars, I danced for 10 years, and I'm not being biased, I legit danced for 10 years, and they went on this journey, and they're trying to prove themselves to go to the finale, and they go for 12 weeks, and it's basically a journey they have to relive every single week, and you don't know who's going to go home and see how their dancing abilities apply to them.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I do like the predictability, and there is definitely a genuine connection for people who have those shared experiences. I just feel like especially with the editing behind these shows, sometimes it just portrays something so heavily. Every show, in the reality TV, they clearly portray the villain of the episode, and they convince the public to root for someone and root against someone, especially shows like American Idol and Dancing with the Stars that do have the voting system implemented. And we actually have a video talking about, it's an ex-bachelorette actually, and she points out in a TED Talk the fakeness behind all these shows, as she points out, especially because, she lived through it and went on many seasons of The Bachelor.
Yep.
And the word reality, I always think about something being real. And when you think about something being real, you think of it being authentic. I think reality TV has gone and went from authentic to manufactured. So I think you have real people with real emotions going on to this show, but you're now being put in unrealistic situations. Like if I hadn't seen you in a long time, and you're like, Kaylin, what have you been up to? And I'm like, just dating 25 men at the same time. Might take a few of them overnight, might introduce a few of them to my family, might meet their family. I'll probably end up getting engaged and marrying one of them, but what's new with you?
That was Kaylin Bristow. She was on a few seasons of The Bachelorette, and she actually won Dancing with the Stars, so she's pretty much at this point a reality TV veteran. And I feel like she does bring up a good point that definitely stuff are going on behind the scenes. Yes, we're generalizing just including reality TV as unscripted, but there's also other competition shows. Even The Price is Right and Jeopardy, there's definitely stuff happening behind the scenes. I'm not claiming it's rigged or anything, but it's definitely not the true reality that's presented to us. Whereas I feel like with scripted TV, it definitely, obviously it's pre-written beforehand, and these are actors paid to portray these characters, but obviously since, they're good at their job, they're able to get such a genuine connection off the screen and are able to tailor stories exactly to match with other people or give other people different perspectives of life that you wouldn't usually encounter.
Yep. I hear you, but there's also to that extent, like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, like you said, they're real people, and nothing goes to plan, for unscripted TV, the point of view I'm trying to make. For example, Pat Sajak, he's the one hosting the show, and Vanna White is the dealer, the puzzler thing, and she just puts herself out there, and her and Pat run the show, but they sometimes can get sick or injured, you don't know, and like a host has to step in, and we will see like that real moment of like transitioning from new host to like temporary host if that they need to be. And even the hosts on those shows, not the host, but like the celebrities on those shows, like they're real people and they're not just like fake acting. Like they're actually, when they win the money, they actually win the money, even though like with taxes included, but we don't count that. But like you never know like who's gonna win, and when they spin the wheel, you don't know who's like the winner at the end of the show.
The unpredictability.
Yes, like I said before. And just like this could be an interview coming up and saying like how like reality TV has really shaped like television and people and who they truly are. And you can't change who people are today because that's who they are, and you can't change the celebrities like it shows in the interview right about now. So like it is what it is. Yeah. So let's watch the video so soon. They'll come up and show us an interview between two people that shows us the realness of people.
So there are so many reasons that we turn into reality TV, right? And it's kind of a mixed bag, and it depends on what show you're watching or reasons for tuning in. But it is kind of interesting, right? That it's supposedly this kind of guilty pleasure, and it's kind of stigmatized in some ways. And in some ways we're watching because we're voyeurs, right? And it's kind of that train wreck that you like to watch to remind yourself that you're not part of the train wreck. But at the same time, paradoxically, you're watching because these characters, as you point out, are these kind of broad archetypes that inevitably remind you of yourself in some kind of way.
Like I said before in that video, it showed like how like real people and celebrities, like they change over time, like Dancing with the Stars, like Ariana Madix, for example. Like she came from Vanderpump Rules, which is also a television show, and she growed as a person. She didn't think she would be able to do dancing at first, and she, like I said, grew as a person. And her and her partner Pasha Pashko like went through this like unpredictability journey of like how far are they going to make it to the finale, and she made it all the way to the finale, and she got third place, and she's very proud of herself for that.
Yeah, someone who watched the season, I definitely do agree that with shows like Dancing with the Stars, which are meant to portray people, and especially these celebrities, it definitely does show a very compelling journey, I find. But I just feel like, obviously, reality TV is unpredictable, and I feel like with scripted TV, you get the outlined story structure that pretty much carries throughout the season or however long the show runs. And I feel like that just provides a much more compelling story, even though, yes, it's not as real and authentic typically. If a show is made well, I think it genuinely does come across. Like shows like Ted Lasso, they're known for these characters that are so warm and loving. And yes, people like this might not exist, and they might not be perfect all the time, but in this little TV bubble, they feel so real and alive, and that's a hallmark of a good show, I think. Even shows that have horrible villains, like Cersei Lannister or in Succession, Logan Roy, these people, they're not good people. Not at all. But you still,
I agree.
TV finds a way to find their complexities and sort of introduce them. And I mean, definitely by the end you don't like them, or you might, who knows. But you definitely get to see multifaceted parts of them that I think you don't get in reality TV because it's so focused on showing this linear story, especially through the editing, I feel like.
Yeah, but even like through the editing, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but I just feel like with these shows, especially, credit to these talented actors, like the images that are about to show up, they just have such talent that they're able to portray this, and everyone can find something to relate to. The people writing these shows, they're humans, they've gone through this experience, unless we're talking about AI writing all these crazy skips. But as you see in the picture, there's shows like Abbott Elementary and Wednesday and The White Lotus that just came out recently, yet all their characters are so crazy and diverse. Wednesday Addams, she's obviously a staple character, and everyone knows her for her dark and grim personality. And yes, obviously she gets away with many illegal stuff that you probably can't get away with in the real world. Still, some people might connect to her because she's, an outsider and she's different from other people, and other people may have had those experiences. So I feel like it's easy to connect.
Yeah, I agree to some extent, but like on the other side, like Survivor, for example, like I don't know, like you watched it because you're a big TV fan. Like Dee and Austin, like they made it all the way to the end together, and along with Jake. And Jake had a very interesting story because, as you know, like he started out with some like seizures and medical issues, and they didn't know if he was gonna make it all the way to the end, but he pushed through and survived on the island of Fiji. Survivor, that's the name. And Dee and Austin, like Dee won for like Survivor 45, and she was the first Cuban person to win Survivor, and that's a big accomplishment because out of every season of Survivor so far, she's the only one that has done that. And Austin, for example, like I didn't know this, and I felt like a personal connection to him because he had a really good story behind it, because he didn't know if he was going to make Survivor, but it turns out he did. And I didn't know this until the finale after show, but he was an alternate. He was a second alternate, but he made it on the show. He was studying for midterms, and it turns out he was on the show and he made it all the way to second place. And I just feel like that connection between me and the television, like that's gonna pop up in a minute, like the images of the cast of Survivor. And basically, like, I felt like on the image right now, Austin, Dee, Jake, and Caleb was actually like the first member of the jury, and meaning like, when you're like the first member of the jury, you get to choose the winner of Survivor. And like he was deciding, I believe it was Dee that wanted to win, and he had a very interesting story on why he wanted to choose her.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I did watch that season of Survivor, and there are a lot of compelling stories, and they especially make it out. But that brings up another issue I have with reality TV is I feel like, honestly, even though it's real life and you can't manipulate it to the exact T and know what's going to happen, it sometimes feels more predictable just with the editing, I feel like sometimes. You know, because people, it just feels so manipulative because personally, at least for me, sometimes in an episode, when they show a person and finally give their story after 10 episodes of them being on the show, you could see that they're either going to do really well in the episode or really bad and go home. So it's sort of like, you can't really balance the scales with that one. Well, I feel like with scripted TV, also, it just provides such a comfort. Like,
yeah, I agree, but let's talk about Survivor again. Like, they go through like interviews with all the people behind the scenes, which we don't get to see, which is kind of crazy. But like, they go through day and night, and they show like they gotta have a strategic game plan involved, because if you don't have like a strategic game plan, like you don't have like allies or enemies to rely on, like you're in the dark hole. And when you go to tribal council, which for the viewers at home, like basically what that means is when you go, you might get eliminated. So
yeah, and I feel like, well, I mean, a Guardian article is going to show up, which I feel like it goes really in depth into the comfort of TV and why people watch it, because it provides good information. I would definitely recommend reading it about shows like Gilmore Girls and Office and Friends, and why people watch them to feel these genuine stories, even though it's scripted and on a soundstage.
yeah, and I found a library article talking about how like only about unscripted TV, on how like they provide like interchangeably like parts to it, and like has a general synopsis of what the show is going to be about. And in this new era of television, choosing what to do is nearly impossible.
Some people prefer watching people battle it out to win cash prizes or ride dragons. Either way, TV is a great way to escape from everyday life and see the world from a new perspective.
Ultimately, the choice of TV boils down to personal preference. For some of us, scripted TV beats the unpredictability of reality TV, but we can agree that television is here to stay.
And as it evolves, we cannot wait to take the next scripted or unscripted journey to wonder and magic.